6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The President orders ongoing relief for those affected by adverse weather. A committee will be set up to rectify salary anomalies of the public servants. The government focuses on addressing issues faced by Grama Niladhari officers. Social security benefit introduced for all workers over 55. Upgrading of the Northern Railway line will be completed by August. Officers warn of a dengue outbreak with high Brito index. Foreign news. US gas hub pier knocked out of action by heavy seas. In sports, stadium of T20 World Cup opener hit by severe storm. President Ranil Wickremesinghe instructed officials to provide immediate relief to those affected by the recent inclement weather and to continue these efforts until the situation improves. According to the Disaster Management Centre, 8 deaths have been reported across the island as of Monday. 7 people died in accidents caused by strong winds and 1 person died in a boat capsizing. The President also directed that compensation be provided to the families of the deceased. The Disaster Management Centre will provide 250,000 rupees for each victim, with an advance payment of 25,000 rupees already arranged. As of Monday, 42,640 people belonging to 11,326 families have been affected by the inclement weather. The President instructed the Disaster Management Centre to ensure all necessary facilities are provided with special attention to health and hygiene. Cabinet spokesman Transport, Highways and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said a special committee aimed at rectifying the salary anomalies of the public servants will be set up soon. Speaking at the weekly Cabinet media briefing held yesterday at the Government Information Department, Minister Gunawardena said the Cabinet of Ministers have decided to appoint an experts committee to study the concerns and submit a report so that the said anomalies can be rectified in the budget 2025. The decision had been taken after taking into consideration the constant concerns brought up by the employee groups and trade unions about salary anomalies in the government service. Minister Gunawardena said that currently the government is not in a position to rectify all salary anomalies of the public servants within the year. Accordingly, the President stressed the importance of appointing an expert committee to deeply study the issue and make recommendations in order to allocate necessary funds from Budget 2025 to rectify the salary anomalies. Through this committee, all public sector trade unions direct their issues and proposals to the committee without launching any trade union action further. President's Senior Advisor on National Security and Chief of Presidential Staff, Sagala Ratnayaka, has advised relevant officials to find possible solutions to the problems in the Grama Niladhari service, ensuring no conflict arises with other public services. He emphasized the importance of discussing existing issues thoroughly and reaching a common agreement. This directive was given during a meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday involving officials of the Grama Niladhari Trade Union and related line institutions. There was an extensive discussion regarding the issues related to the Grama Niladhari Service Constitution and the problems that have arisen concerning the salary scale. The Grama Niladhari Trade Union highlighted that numerous issues have arisen concerning the promotions of Grama Niladhari officials and emphasized the need for a revised service constitution to address these problems. In response, Mr. Sagar Ratnayaka stated that constructive proposals should be made regarding the drafted service constitution currently awaiting approval from the Public Service Commission. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Labour and Foreign Employment Minister Manusha Nanayakkara announced that the Cabinet has approved a proposal to provide social security benefits to all workers aged 55 and above across various industries. This initiative includes the preparation of necessary legal provisions which will be developed alongside the Garusaru program. Addressing the press briefing titled Collective Path to a Stable Country held at the President's Media Centre yesterday, Minister Nanayakkara highlighted the government's commitment to social security and labour rights. The minister further responded to criticism about the lack of mental freedom to celebrate festivals, noting that the current government, led by President Ranil Wickremesinghe, has restored the environment for celebrating Vesak Poson Asala and Christmas. He challenged critics to present a proper economic plan, emphasizing that the government is actively implementing programs like Aswesuma and Urumaya to provide relief to the people. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunodhana says that it is unlikely that the reconstruction work of the Northern Railway track and the development of the Northern Railway line could be completed by August this year. Unauthorized constructions in several places of the railway reservoir can be removed. Once the construction is complete, the public could reach Jaffna within 5 hours via train. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
In the main news story, State Minister of Defence Pramita Bandara Tennakoon said that safeguarding the safety of school children through ensuring a safe school environment, especially during prevalent weather-related emergency situations, is a top priority in government's disaster management program. He stated this during a meeting held at the Disaster Management Centre in Colombo yesterday. The State Minister said that he had requested those officials to update the active district committee to make risk assessment and appraise the Disaster Management Centre in order to prepare the contingency plan to face emergency situations effectively, and that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
In Watchlight this morning, Health Entomology Officer Association President Najit Sumansen yesterday said that there's a risk of dengue epidemic as the Brito index, which measures the density of dengue larvae, has reached 25. He said that the results of the increase of the mosquito density will be reported in the next 6 weeks. He also said that there's a risk of dengue epidemic being recorded during that period, and some places are reporting Brito index of 30 to 40. He stated that according to the World Health Organization, the Brito index should remain below 5. He also said that the reason for the increase in the index is due to the festival season, examinations in schools and festivals in temples, and due to the fact that people forget about dengue and do not show interest in cleaning the environment. He said that due to the accumulation of water due to rain, the breeding of mosquitoes has increased and the surrounding environment is kept clean so that water does not accumulate. The risk of dengue can be reduced. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
The headlines first. The US Gaza pier knocked out of action by heavy seas. Zelensky urges Biden to attend Ukraine peace summit. And the longest-serving flight attendant dies at 88. A temporary pier built by the U.S. military to deliver aid to Gaza has been damaged by heavy seas and will take at least a week to be repaired, according to the U.S. officials. The U.S. forces began building the floating pier, which is attached to Gaza shoreline by the temporary causeway several weeks ago. The causeway portion of the project has now reportedly broken off and will have to be repaired before being returned to its position. Humanitarian organizations have warned that the amount of aid reaching Palestinians in Gaza is only a fraction of what is required to meet the needs of its population. The pier, which was first announced by U.S. officials in March, is comprised of two main components: a large floating dock made up of steel segments and two-lane 1,800 feet causeway and pier. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged President Biden to attend a peace summit due to be held in Switzerland in mid-June. Mr. Zelensky said his key ally's possible absence would only be personally applauded by Putin, and it would be standing ovation. Reports suggest President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are set to miss the summit. Although some form of U.S. representation is expected, the president's absence would be a huge blow for Ukraine. The summit, which has been planned for months, will be held in luxury 5-star high above beautiful Lake Lucerne. It came about after Mr. Zelensky suggested a former Swiss president, Alain, that neutral Switzerland should host such an event. Beth Nash, the world's longest-serving flight attendant, has died aged 88 after nearly 70 years of airborne service. The news was broken by her employer, American Airlines, which mourned her death in a post on X, formerly Twitter. She started in 1957 and held a Guinness World Record for longest-serving flight attendants, the airline said. Miss Nash began her career at the age of 21 with Eastern Airlines, working on its shuttle flight between Washington, D.C., where she lived, and Boston. She preferred the route because it allowed her to spend every night at home. She had intended to move on after a few years, but ended up staying becoming a familiar sight to frequent flyers on the route long after it was taken over by American Airlines. She never officially retired from her post. And back to the headlines of the world news. The US Gaza pier knocked out of action by heavy seas. Zelensky urges Biden to attend Ukraine peace summit. And the longest-serving flight attendant dies at 88. And that ends world news.
Development news.
Cabinet spokesman and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that 52% of Sri Lanka Transport Board buses in the country are out of date. He further said those institutions have collapsed to the point where they cannot even get credit facilities to purchase new buses. The minister mentioned this at the press conference held yesterday at the Government Information Department to inform the decisions taken at this week's cabinet meeting. He also said that 500 new buses have been obtained under the Indian loan scheme. And that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
The stadium which will host the opening match of the T20 World Cup in Dallas this weekend has been hit by severe weather, causing the cancellation of Tuesday's official warm-up match. The United States and Bangladesh were due to meet at 16:30 BST at Grand Prairie Stadium in Texas, but the match has been called off because of the conditions of the facilities. Warnings for strong thunderstorms, flash flooding, and tornadoes have been given for the area. A spokesperson from the International Cricket Council said fencing and scaffolding at the venue had been affected by nothing that materially impacts the staging of the World Cup. The opening match of the T20 World Cup between US and Canada is due to take place in Dallas on Saturday, 1st of June. And that is sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Very few people are regularly using the much-hyped artificial intelligence products like ChatGPT, a survey suggests. Researchers surveyed 2,000 people in 6 countries, including the UK, with only 2% of British respondents saying that they use such tools on a daily basis. But the study from the Reuters Institute of Oxford University says young people are bucking the trend, with 18 to 24-year-olds the most eager adopters of the tech. Dr. Richard Fletcher, the report's lead author, told the BBC there was a mismatch between the hype around AI and the public interest in it. The study examined viewers on generative AI tools, the new generation of products that can respond to simple text prompts with human-sounding answers, as well as images, audio and video. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
To economic news, the Wildlife Department plans to upgrade its bungalow inside wildlife parks with private sector input. There are 52 wildlife bungalows currently managed by the Wildlife Conservation Department. It has been recognized that the wildlife bungalow should be improved physically and that it is advisable to take contribution of private sector organizations and parties who are interested in contributing voluntarily to these activities, and that these activities should not contradict the provisions of the Wildlife and Flora Ordinance. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal presented by the Wildlife Minister to invite declarations of intent from the concerned parties and to enter into memorandum of understanding between selected parties and Department of Wildlife accordingly. And that is economic news.
Weather report.
The prevailing showery and windy conditions over the island are expected to continue further due to the active southwest monsoonal condition. Showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern and southern provinces. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the western and Sabaragamuwa province and in the Nuwara Eliya district. Showers or thundershowers will occur at a few places in the Ua province and in Ampara and Badiklo district in the evening or night. Strong winds of about 50 to 60 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north-central, western, southern and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Monragala districts. And before we conclude this news broadcast, the headlines again. The President orders ongoing relief for those affected by adverse weather. A committee will be set up to rectify salary anomalies of the public servants. The government focuses on addressing issues faced by Grama Nildari officers. Social security benefit introduced for all workers over 55. Upgrading of the Northern Railway line will be completed by August. Officers warn of dengue outbreak with high Brito index. Foreign news, US Gas appear knocked out of action by heavy seas. And in sports, stadium of T20 World Cup opener hit by severe storm. With that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And it's over to Abhishek on the other side to continue with the rest of the programs. Over to you, Abhishek, and a very good morning to you.